Sir Anthony Hopkins, Mozart, Tim Burton, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein. These people have two things in common. One, they all achieved greatness. And two, they were all diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder. So, Jaco, what would the criteria be to make a diagnosis of autism?
When we look at autism, we look at 2 or 3 major parts. The first one is social communication and social interaction deficit that is persistent. The second one would be too restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior. Now, when we look at social communication and interaction, all 3 of the following should be present. The first one is social emotional reciprocity. That is a difficulty or a deficit in communication, whether it is reading cues, whether it's understanding gestures. Everything has to do with difficulty interacting and reacting to a social skill. The second one is non-verbal communication. Like I mentioned, gestures, body movements, they've got an inability to recognize cues and social cues from other people. Lastly, we look at relationships. Now, relationships has to do, it's difficult forming a one-on-one relationship, never mind speaking about a crowd. Social relationships has also to do with imaginary play, where they find difficulty. They are very, very focused on their own world, their own interaction, and their own relationship with themselves. It's difficult to connect to other people. Then, that is the first 3 that should be present. We look at restricted repetitive behaviors. The first one would be repetitive behaviors like tapping or flapping, also echolalia, where we keep on repeating the same words over and over. There's insistence on sameness. So the similar action, this rocking, everything like that has to do with insistent on sameness. The same food they like to eat, the same colors they like to wear, the same type of clothing and material they want to wear. Then there is highly restricted and intense interest in certain topics. They will be fixated on a topic, and when they keep on talking, they won't pick up the social cue of to stop talking about the topic. Lastly, there's sensory reactivity, where they are overstimulated, over-focused on colors. Everything is bright. It's like walking and hearing every little thing in an extreme form. Not just extremely, but also hypo-reactivity, where they get numb towards sounds, colors, speech, people. Lastly, it should be developed quite early in lifetime. We do get adult autism spectrum disorder as well, but we tend to pick up autism quite early in life with developmental phases that's delayed. Also, there is impairment in social cues, and it cannot be better explained by another mental disorder such as intellectual disability or other neurodevelopmental disorders. So autism spectrum disorder is unique to its type. We need to specify as well if there is or not intellectual problems, also speech problems, and lastly the severity of the autism that can be considered.
So we usually speak about neurodiverse people. You get neurotypical people and neurodiverse people. So neurodiversity is like a big garden. And autism is one of the flowers. ADHD is one of the flowers. So that's how you connect neurodiversity with autism. So let's think about land and sea. Sea animals, in this case the neurodiverse people, are happy in the water, they can perform in the water, they are fully adapted in the water. Humans can function on land and a bit in water, so they are the neurotypical people. So for us to expect a whale to function in a supermarket would not be possible. And that's perhaps sometimes what we expect from neurodiverse people. To better explain autism to you, we use the letters of autism to just give you more information on the exact nature of autism.
So the first letter of autism, A, we can see that as awareness. Now we tend to individualize autism, but it's all around us. There's people in your workplace, there's people at the party. Autism is all over the place. Now we need to remember, rather than asking what's wrong, rather ask the question, what is different and how do they experience it? To become aware is much more than just the word autism and how we perceive it. We need to be aware of the difference in action, the difference in behavior. It's not naughty. It is differently than the norm.
So the U is for unique. Remember, what are different in people with autism brains? The brain follows different paths. So there are no right or wrong. It's just a different path. But if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person. Each brain follows a different path. So there are no standard rules for people with autism. There are not one set of rules for autism. There is not one book that you can read about your autistic child and try to force those principles onto your autistic child. Each autistic person needs an individualized treatment program because each one's brain follows different paths.
The third one is to think differently. Different thoughts, different perceptions, they pick up patterns that other people don't normally pick up. Whether it's mathematics, whether it's gestures, they think logical, analytical, precise.
And then we have inclusion. Inclusion means not just tolerating an autistic child in your class, but celebrating them. Inclusion means create an environment where they can function. Remember, they are sea animals, so they need water. They can't function on land. So that would, for example, be to give them different ways, for example, to do an oral. Perhaps they can type it for you instead of talking about it, giving them some more time during tests, allowing them to have a corner which is quiet where they can go if they feel overwhelmed. So inclusion doesn't just mean to tolerate them. It is to celebrate them.
Then S for sensory experiences. Hypervigilance, hyperfocus, hypersound. We even pick up things like misophonia, where they are so focused on certain sounds that's really irritating them. Patterns again, but the most important one, the sensory experience, they overhear. They are super reactive towards sound, color, texture, taste.
M is for mindset. The mindset of people around autistic people need to change. A lot of times when I work with autistic patients, most of the work are being done with the family because the family tried to force a neurodiverse person into a neurotypical world. It's like having a square hole and you want to try to fit a circle into that square hole. So the M is also for meltdowns. Remember, meltdowns are when they are overwhelmed. They're not naughty, they feel overwhelmed. So the best would be to, as soon as possible, hold them very tightly, put something like a weighted blanket on them, just help them so that their system calms down. Don't scream at them, don't talk them, stay quiet and just try to help them relax. So if, for example, you are a teacher who has an autistic child in your class, you have to explain it to the other children. A way to explain it would be to use different cars. A normal sedan car can drive on the normal roads, and a lot of neurotypical people are normal cars like their parents come to drop them off with. Then you also get Formula One cars, which are very fast, very strong engines, but they struggle to drive on our normal roads. There can be potholes, there can be stones in the way. So a lot of children in the class are Formula One cars. They are excellent, but they cannot drive on the normal roads. And then, for example, we get a tractor, which also is very strong, which does a lot of work, but it cannot drive on the N1 all the way and function well there. So that's a way of explaining to the children that all children have very good qualities, but they need different environment and different roads to drive on.
Should you need any more information or have questions, please contact us at the information that you can see below. Thank you.